Hi, welcome to the Metaphysics Hour. I'm your host, Rory Colgan. We're going to do a critique of a book called The Teacher Wars by Dana Goldstein in about 7 minutes. So strap in your seatbelt and sit down and get ready because we're going to it. So I'm interested in education simply in part because I had to go to a school that most people have never even heard of called the School of Metaphysics before I finally understood what education could be. It could be very meaningful, it could be very engaging, and it could actually develop a person's consciousness to the point where they could be a free thinker. Government school, kindergarten through 12th grade, I didn't feel like I was encouraged to be a free thinker. I was encouraged to be a clog in a machine. I did a couple years at two different colleges, Black Hawk Community College and Moline or East Moline, Illinois. And then I finished my associate's degree in Champaign-Urbana at Parkland College. And if you look behind me, the degrees that I do have posted, none of them are that associate's degree. And that's just simply because I don't honor it and respect it as much as the degrees that I have put up there. Now, minus one of those is a book cover, but still, it's more meaningful to me than the associate's degree. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy the experience and didn't learn a few interesting things about people and a few subjects that I enrolled myself in. But by and large, my emphasis here at the Metaphysics Hour is to encourage you to be your own educator. It does require discipline. It does require some insight within yourself to guide yourself, but it can really help. I studied at the School of Metaphysics for about 8 years and felt like after 8 years I'd really learned how to be my own teacher. And I think that's the mission of education, is to teach you how to be your own teacher. Now, this particular book, The Teacher Wars, does not address that at all. It doesn't address the fact that you are to be your own teacher. And in fact, for a book that is so much about teaching, there's very little that's mentioned about students. And I find that very odd because you end up, at the end of the day, recognizing two things about education. Is that the student has to have the desire, and that was something also that I learned as a Montessori teacher, is that the student has to have the desire. And then the instructor is just there to kind of help the individual avoid certain pitfalls and accelerate that learning. And my one-on-one teachings and in the workshops that I lead and also in the speaking engagements and even this conversation, I'm attempting to do that very thing. I'm not forcing you to be here with me. You're coming here of your own free will, your own volition. And that is one of the most fundamental problems with this particular book, and not necessarily just her book, it's just that she doesn't criticize mandatory or compulsive education. That is completely ignorant of metaphysical law or truth, and that truth is that you have free will. And until we put free will into the equation and make school an option and various different models an option, we will continually dumb our generations down. And the education that we seek to do will continue to produce people with plenty of blind sides that we then have to, through life, uncover and replace with something more productive. Now, obviously, as I studied the almost 200-year history of Dana's work, I have to commend her. She was able to do a pretty historical job, kind of cataloging the history since 1815 all the way up to 2013. She did an effective job at that point, except for the failure of metaphysics. She missed a couple fundamentals, and that's why this criticism is being put up online. I highly encourage you, if you are curious about education, if you are an educator, to read her book. It'll give you an idea as to why America's education is so low in terms of ranking in the world. In part because we're very hodgepodge. We're very much factions. There's one faction over here, one faction over here, and they're all trying to go in different directions. There's not a whole lot of cohesiveness. So again, the most fundamental problem with her work and with the education model in general is that it's forced, it's compulsive. And anytime you have forced anything, forced fill in the blank, it's going to be problematic. Yes, there will be some people that will literally want to be there, and therefore they'll do probably pretty well in school, but a lot of people don't know why they would want to be there, and it's not explained to them very effectively. It's just compulsive. It's do this, do it at this, do this, do this, do this. And one area of the book, there's this little quote, once my computer comes up from sleep, that I want to read to you, just because it gives me the chills that we're indoctrinating children with this. The quote comes from the South Bronx in 2013. There's a teacher, and she is leading her students in a discussion, and this is part of that discussion. It was almost lunchtime, and the kids were yawny and fidgety. And this is just kind of giving the setting of Dana's observing this teacher and the children. She, meaning the teacher, told the children, "We have to grow our brains for first grade. Because why? Why do we grow our brains?" "For second grade," said Melvin. "Yes, but what's the big goal?" she asked. "College!" cried a girl named Chanel. "Yes, college," the teacher repeated, "and then we can change the world." Wrong. You can change the world as a 2-year-old, as an infant. You do not have to go to college to change the world. One of my dearest friends has never been inside a college campus, and she is going to knock the socks off of so many people in the world because of her profession and her vocation and her passion. So college, again, is not a route to heal the world. It's just one potential way. So, in summary, this short little video should hopefully expose one fallacy that we have yet to wrap our heads around. Education cannot be compulsive. It has to be freely chosen.